It's Money Talks. Now, Aldo Zilli is an award-winning celebrity chef and entrepreneur who specialises in Italian, vegetarian and seafood cuisine. One of 9 children, he was born in the small seaside town of Alba Adriatica in central Italy, where he first learnt Italian home cooking from his mother. Zilli was founder and chef-patron of some of the UK's most innovative restaurants. He's also written lots of books, including Being Zilli and My Italian Country Childhood, and he remains a leading consultant and commentator on culinary issues. Aldo, it's great to have you with us. What a life you've had.
What a fantastic intro.
My usual fee. When did you first come to the UK from that Italian culinary paradise where you grew up on the Adriatic there? And what was England like when you arrived?
Well, that's a different story. England, when I arrived, was a little bit behind on Italian
Well,
food.
we're talking mid-70s, right?
Yeah, mid-70s, late 70s.
Okay.
Olive oil was even hard to find in those days. But, you went to Soho, and
in central London,
delis. There was Italian
there were
delis.
Italian
There
delis.
was 7 restaurants in Dean Street, Italian restaurants in Dean Street. So as soon as I arrived, I worked in hotels outside London, and then I went to Soho for a visit, and I found myself a job, and I stayed in Soho for a long, long time after that, because I opened my own restaurant.
It's worth telling younger viewers, isn't it, what the kind of culinary landscape of the UK was back in the early, mid and late 70s. I remember it from childhood. You came here from Italy at that time. You're just a few years older than me. I mean, it was basically post-war, wasn't it? There was very little foreign food. I remember a spaghetti bolognese with the pasta massively overcooked. That was the height of culinary sophistication for most British households.
Well, I mean, as far as you were concerned, spaghetti grew on trees in those days. But yes, I mean, it was difficult to find ingredients. So I started working with Italian ingredients, and that's what I think that's what made me successful in those days, in the 80s, because I opened my first restaurant at the beginning of the 80s.
So you were early mid-20s, right?
Yeah, I was 26 when I opened
That's
my
a big
first restaurant
achievement.
in Soho.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big achievement, and it was a big risk. But I had nothing to risk because I had no money anyway. So this guy decided to retire, and he said, "You want my restaurant? Give me 500 quid a week."
Wow!
And that's how I started my first restaurant, and I never looked back since. But having said that, in those days, to find ingredients and to cook proper Italian food, because Italian restaurants in those days were cooking very oily lasagna, cannelloni, and spaghetti bolognese, and like you said, chicken Kiev.
Yeah.
And tiramisu wasn't even on the menu then.
That incredibly addictive sort of chocolate coffee cake, which means in Italian it means sort
pick me up.
Pick me up, yeah.
And Mr. Tiramisu died a couple of weeks ago. Actually, the guy that invented tiramisu.
Yeah.
But so in those days it was more like profiteroles, and it was the menus were so different to what they are now.
Just trying to outline, we'll talk about the sort of post-pandemic situation with catering and restaurants, because there's still, they've still got a long way to recover. But tell us about the kind of arc of how culinary Britain developed from the late 70s when you showed up, and many other immigrants came to the UK, whether from mainland Europe, whether from India, Asia. And there was this kind of explosion of
culinary,
of awareness of food. Didn't just have to be meat and 2 veg. It didn't have to be spam fritters, did it?
No, but the thing is, people, I don't know how ready they were. The British palate, how ready it was for them to be introduced to these different flavours or new flavours, or maybe risotto with truffle, those kind of flavours, very strong flavours and very different flavours. So we as chefs always innovate, and we always come with seasons. The season, I change the menu still nowadays with seasons, because I like seasonal food, and I like food that doesn't travel very far, although some ingredients I have to still buy from Italy. But chefs came from all over the world, like you said. Chinese, Ken Hom, for example.
Yeah, of course.
He's still around. He's still doing his thing. And, I remember him coming to this country. And then after a while, I had my own restaurant. Antonio Carluccio appeared, in the scene. And he then created the monster with all his restaurants, unfortunately.
And it's not just in London, is it?
So,
many regional capitals, towns. Obviously, most small towns in the UK, they have Chinese and Indian food, and they have for a long time. But this outreach of other kinds of foods, Thai food, Italian food, French food, obviously, it's really been incredible.
Well, it's been incredible, and it's carrying on. In London, where it lands first, it seems, people come from all over the world and bring new concepts. And the concept now, if you haven't got a right concept, don't bother opening a restaurant.
Aldo, what was it about you that made you get on the boat and come to the UK? It was a long way from where you grew up. You're not from a wealthy background at all. You were very ambitious. You were very driven. I'm sure you started out washing pots and
I was hungry.
chopping up vegetables and all the worst jobs. How were you able to make that leap to say, right, I'm going to borrow the money, I'm going to put everything on the line, I'm going to open my own restaurant, no one's going to stop me?
Well, I was working. I always worked since a teenager.
So you had that work ethic.
I left school early because my dad said, this is not a hotel. You have to pay to live here.
A bit of tough love from the old man.
Yeah, and to buy your own books if you want to go to school.
Yeah.
So, we always worked, seven boys and one girl.
Wow.
I'm the youngest of 9.
Yeah.
And I was hungry.
I feel sorry for her boyfriends.
She left home early. She went and had 8 children herself. But she passed away last year.
So you came from the background, there was some tough love from your dad, and
Yeah.
he said you have to stand on your own 2 feet. Your mother was introducing you to this astonishing cuisine. You were watching her cook. But still, there would have been a lot of young Italian lads in London, with respect, like that in the mid and late 70s. What made you different? What made you different?
I was always creative, and I was always ambitious to do my own thing. I never copied anyone. Still nowadays, if I want to write a cookery book, which I'm in the middle of, I never go and look at a bookshop with Italian cookery books, because I don't want to be copying anybody. I want to always be original. In those days, when I first came to this country, I could see an opening because I could see how bad Italian food was in those days. And I thought maybe I could improve this. Maybe I could open a restaurant and get celebrities in and get people to travel in, because my flavors were so good. So I did, and I opened the restaurant in Dean Street, and needless to say, all the A-listers start turning up. We had Freddie Mercury, George Michael, Madonna. We had everybody coming to that restaurant. And then I started pinching myself, because I thought, what am I, I'm 26, 27 years old, and I've got all these people. And then, of course, the Maltese Mafia was around. So I had to pay them as well. So I was paying £500 a week to the owner of the restaurant and £500 a week to the Mafia.
I was going to ask you, mate, you've led me perfectly not into a question on the business environment in the UK back then. It was a high-tax environment. There was quite a lot of so-called graft in central London. You must have been pretty resilient in order to get through all that. But did you find the broader business environment quite good? Say, is it easier to set up a restaurant in the UK than, say, in Italy?
For me, it was. Because the thing is, as you can hear, I speak English like a South Londoner. I don't speak English like an Italian. And learning English was the first thing I did.
Yeah, you've done a great job. It's beautiful.
I came to this country and I thought I have to learn this language. Because language for me was everything. So I learned the language, and then I thought, now I can go to work and do it properly. With the language comes the sense of humour, comes the business side of it, and you start understanding what can be done and what you can do to improve, the things that are already done. So that's what I did, and I wanted to make the best coffee, I wanted to make the best pasta, I wanted to make the best ice cream, and I did that, and I did it for years and years and years. I did it for 35 years. Talking
of which, you've brought some food in here.
Well, this is just from Aldo Zilli, where we're doing.
So what's these?
These are courgette flowers, stuffed courgette flowers.
Can I have one of those?
I made in season, then froze them, and now I fried them for you. Stuffed courgette flowers. This is a little pasta alla norma here with some aubergine and ricotta cheese.
You know what's amazing about that? it isn't greasy. It's tasty, but it isn't greasy, even though it's
light.
Yeah.
It's light as well. The butter's really light.
God, wonderful flavours.
And this is a bit of surf and turf here with some guanciale, which is a pork cheek with prawns.
Amazing.
So that's a really good dish. And you know what we're doing at the moment. It's the pandemic. For me, I think I'm one of the success stories in the pandemic. Because me and my wife just had this amazing idea of using our property properly and using our home kitchen and start doing takeaways and deliveries.
Good for you.
And now it's turned into a monster because now I can't stop. Because we've got the big garden, so we put igloos in the garden and people book and for experiences. So Surrey has become, the Aldo Zilli, culinary experience.
But you're always going to love physical restaurants, aren't you? The kind of the hospitality aspect of a physical restaurant. You're famous for being very much in and among your guests. What else has that got in that? That's absolutely amazing.
Smoked cheese.
I can taste
smoked mozzarella.
I can taste the cheese coming through. So let me put this to you, Aldo. A lot of people watching may be thinking, is this industry for me? I'm looking at the vacancy data this morning. There are over 150,000 vacancies in the catering business at the moment. The catering business is still 40% below where it was before the pandemic. It's got a long way to recover. What would you say to youngsters who are thinking about what they might want to do with their lives about the catering business? How tough is it to get into? How tough is it to succeed and make a good living?
Get in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Don't look at people like me, like people that are on television and chefs that cook on television. Don't look at us yet. Just get in the kitchen and do the graft because it's hard work. You have to go in in the hospitality industry, you have to go in with a good mind. You have to go in with a hard work in mind. You can't go in and clock yourself in and out. This doesn't exist. It's you work, 7 days a week sometimes, and if you want to learn, you have to pay attention. Us chefs are all very, very, very difficult people to work for.
Yeah.
Hence the fact I can't.
Exacting, precise, and working under pressure all the time, working long hours. Often with everything on the line. If you've got a chef owner of a restaurant, everything's on the line, right? Not just reputation, money, finance.
Exactly. On Saturday night, for example, just gone, one of my chefs was sending out something that wasn't to my standard. And I said to him, my name is on that plate.
That's right.
You can't do that.
That's right.
So that's what you've got to understand first. If you can understand that first, the hospitality industry is amazing. It's an incredible business to be in. You're on stage, 1 o'clock comes, service starts, you're on stage, you're live.
Yeah.
Like this program, you're live.
Yeah.
And there's no going back.
Yeah.
Mistakes can't happen. You have to be on the ball and you have to be ready to serve.
And how much opportunity is there to get promoted if you start at a low level or even before you've trained to be a chef, just in a kitchen getting experience? How easy is it to rise as long as you're good? How many opportunities are there? I know there are lots of vacancies. I know you can't even get a chef at the moment, right?
Yeah, but
in one of your restaurants.
You're looking at someone that got promoted very early in life. I was always. You have to be ambitious. You have to be creative, and you have to do your own homework. It's you got to cook at home. You got to test yourself.
Yeah.
You got to do all sorts of things. You got to read about food. What's coming into the industry. What ingredients, new ingredients are coming in. Taste everything before you send it to anybody, even before you give it to your own wife or husband. So this is the industry. The industry is not easy, but it's easier than going to do something completely different. If you really want to enjoy your life and in the hospitality industry, you have to be prepared for hard work.
Is English cuisine still a joke around the rest of the world? I mean, actual English food. What do you think of English food? What do you think of sort of roast lamb? And what do you think of our puddings? And be kind, be gentle.
I think you're so underestimating yourselves.
Go on.
I think you've got some of the best chefs in Europe. There's probably more Michelin stars in this country than there are in France. I think British chefs are incredible. And I would love to train a British chef. That's what I'm looking for at the moment. I'm looking for some juniors that want to learn to cook Italian food.
What an opportunity to be
Yes,
trained by you.
exactly.
And you can't get one who's of suitable calibre.
I can't get anyone, never mind one. It's very difficult to find people that want to actually do this job. But it's not, you know, I think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get better. And the British food, like you described it, you know, I love your fish and chips. But I can make a better one.
We've come a long way since the 70s, haven't we?
You have.
And we still look good.
You have. Spaghetti don't grow on trees anymore.
All the best.